Hello, welcome to this third or fourth video in a simple Minecraft tutorial, simple Minecraft-like simulation or game tutorial. So I was asked by King Camille how to use seeds in order to generate your landscape in our version. So this is going to be a very short video, hopefully, and I'll show you how to do that. So just a reminder, we've got essentially two tiles or two grids of voxels. We've got this smooth grid on the left, and I've just left it smooth, and then on the right we've got it more like Minecraft, where I've made sure each voxel is snapped to a 1 by 1 by 1 grid. Okay, so what we can do is if I press the R key, there we go, you can see the terrain changes, and that's because I've written in the script, which I'll show you in a moment, how to generate a new seed number by pressing R or whatever key you wanted, or whatever other method, and then from that seed you can get a new terrain generated. So press it again and we get a new terrain. And what that terrain is doing is actually using the seed to generate what it looks like. And I'm going to show you two methods to get you going with that. And I'll just press it one more time, so we should have now quite a kind of ropey texture across the whole terrain like this. There we go. And this will relate to the second method of how to use the seed. Right, let's go into the code. So I think I'll stop the simulation there. So all we've got in our scene at the moment is me, that's the main character. By the way, I've just set the gravity multiplier to 0, and that's how I was flying around there. It's just a lot easier to see the purling noise. Then we've got Hamlet, which is our sun, and we've got two voxel farms, and they're the things that we've attached our simple voxel farm script to, that actually generate the voxel terrain. Right, so if we just bring up that script, you can double click it in here or in the assets folder. So here's our script, which we've already made, and I've just added a few things to it. I've added about 100 lines. That's not to get the seed working, but something else. Anyway, you only have to add a few lines, or I'll put a link to the GitHub repository where I'll put this code, so you can download the code, copy and paste the code from there. Anyway, first thing we want to do is create ourselves a new integer called seed, or seed number, and that wants to be public, because if we make it public, it will appear as what do you call that? Like a variable that we can enter in the inspector. So we could make our seed number, I don't know, 99 or whatever you like, maybe your birthday. So once we've got that public int there, we can enter a seed number from the beginning. So how do we use that number, which by default sets to 1, or we've now changed to 99? How do you use that number to generate the terrain? So you want to find in the generate terrain function. I might make the code slightly bigger, hopefully you can see that. Right, we've got this essential algorithm. This is the algorithm that decides how high each of our voxels in the grid is going to be. And if you remember, the algorithm uses the position X and Z of that voxel in the grid to decide where it and its neighbours are going to be in terms of height. So they're all related together, and that's using this purling noise function, which gives you like a pseudo-random terrain. So all you have to do is add seed plus the X, the my position X, and what that will then do is shift kind of the coordinates of the whole purling noise along how many places your seed number kind of represents. And at the moment it's 99, so it's going to move the seed along 99 places and then derive this number. So essentially that changes what the terrain is going to look like. So that's how you would use a seed to get different terrains. And if you use the same seed, you'll get to the same coordinates and generate the same terrain, which is essential if you want seeding and to work. You want to be able to get back to the same terrain from the same number. And that's it. And at the bottom, just incidentally, if you wanted to know, I've written an update function, so that runs like the game loop every frame, and I've just said input, if the input get key down is R, then add another 1,000 to the seed number. So that'll move the terrain along 1,000 and then regenerate the terrain. And I've just written a new function called reposition the terrain. So all I'm doing there is getting hold of all the voxels that we've made and repositioning them. So I'm not destroying them all and then recreating them all again, because that would not be very optimized, not very efficient. So I'm just moving them all around. And that's it. That's all you have to do for the seed. So I'm just going to show you one other thing to kind of illustrate what I've said so far. So this is terrain 99. You notice I've got this kind of ropey kind of effect all the way over. So what I've done there is I've said, if you can divide the seed number by 9, then use the seed number to create some more features on the terrain. So that's a bit more like Minecraft, in the sense that the seed number itself will have features in that number that can mathematically or logically generate different things with the terrain. Anyway, so I'll show you how I've done that in a second, but also just to illustrate this seed number and how it shifts along the Perlin noise. If I press E, then it's just going to shift it. Oh, my disk is almost full. I better stop this video very soon. I'll just close that down. Right, if I press E, then I'm just shifting the terrain, the Perlin terrain, along the x-axis by 1. So if I hold that down, actually, you can see what's happening. It's kind of like flowing like a sea. So that gives you an idea. If you plus it by 1,000, you don't see that kind of flowing happen, and you just get a new terrain, or the illusion of a new terrain. Right, so the final thing I needed to show you was, before my memory runs out, is how to use a seed number to actually generate features on the terrain. So again, in next to our algorithm, which generates a Perlin noise, I've said if the seed modulus 9, so that means if the seed number can be divided by 9 with no remainders, then I'm going to say that the height of each voxel, I want to add on the result of this little function. I've just used sine, so sine is like a sine wave, and I've just used the position of the voxel in the grid. It's Z and X location, and I've just fiddled around with these numbers, divided by 2.2, and that just means you get across your whole terrain. This is just an example of something you could do. You could do endless different things. This just means you get like a nice sine wave ribbon effect across the terrain. So, King Camille, I hope that was helpful. That's how to use seeds to generate your terrain. Right, thank you very much. I'll go and buy some more memory.